What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. You guys already know what it is. It's draft season all year long, and today we have a Las Vegas Raiders mock draft here for you guys. And if you guys enjoy this video, consider hitting the like button, consider subscribing, or else you guys are going to draft another criminal. So here we go. We have pick number 7 in this year's draft. How does the board look right now? Everything looks according to plan. Interesting, the two Clemson D linemen, they really fell throughout this draft process. Early on, they were projected to go in like the top 10 every single time, and now it's not as common. Okay, so Seahawks are offering 2 firsts. Ooh. Oh, wow. Okay, there's a lot of talent on the board, as you guys can see here. But we drop back 10 spots here with the Steelers. They're also going to give us pick 33 in the second round. I'm actually going to take this trade. I'm going to accept it right here. So we are going to trade back, and I think there's a real possibility that the Raiders do end up doing this, in real life, because there's not an urgent need to get a quarterback as there was before now that you guys signed Jimmy G. But okay, we were sitting here at 17. The Steelers ended up trading for Christian Gonzalez. I think that's pretty realistic. Okay, Levis is still here at 17. Interesting. And we have Jimmy Garoppolo signed for 3 years. Don't know how I feel about that. Okay. So tackle is definitely a position of need. However, I do feel really high on Darnell Wright, and this team does need a right tackle at the current moment. So I might just wait until pick 33 to go and get our tackle right there. I think Will Levis should definitely be in consideration. However, because I'm not a huge fan of Will Levis, I'm going to refrain from taking him. I'm just going to stay true to my board. And Jimmy G's under contract for 3 years, so there's no urgent need to get a quarterback right now. Rather get the guy that we want rather than, settling for one that I'm not super high on here. Okay, I think Joey Porter definitely in the conversation here. We're going to pause the draft, just take a look at our options, and I feel great about how this is turning out. Okay. Bijan would be interesting, but you have Josh Jacobs back. Smith and Jigba would be interesting. I have a feeling, though, that the Raiders are fine with what their wide receiving group looks like right now. You have Adams, Myers, and Renfro. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to refrain from that. And I think because there are much more glaring needs on this football team right now, and cornerback being one of them, Duke Shelley, I think, was a pretty solid signing coming from a Minnesota Vikings fan. Did a phenomenal job last year at the cornerback spot. You also have Nate Hobbs and David Long, who I think are primarily going to be your slot corners. We need another boundary guy, so we're going to go ahead and take Joey Porter here. So we traded down, and I forgot to unpause the draft so I can select him. Traded down 10 spots, got some additional picks right here. We get Joey Porter here at 17, which I think would be a great selection there. And then we also have pick number 33 now. So this all looks really, really good, and Will Levis is still here. And like I said, we're going to stay true to it. Not a huge fan of Will Levis, so we're going to skip on that. And some of you guys might be, and you might be pounding the table for him right now. However, I'm just not feeling the same way. So, okay, really like Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. Just a solid right tackle. And, I've heard you guys mention in the comment section about how, there's not a ton of position value with the right tackle spot. But Darnell Wright's a good football player. And I think what people forget to understand sometimes is when you go into the NFL draft, right, for some teams, it's to address very glaring needs, and for other teams, you just go out there and select the best players available. When you just go out there and you get the best players available, that's what makes a football team good at the end, because when you draft for need, sometimes you're reaching for a player because, that's the only other option you have at the moment. But if you can just, go ahead and take the best player available, that's what's going to win you championships, I think, when you're building your roster. So I think Darnell Wright is definitely a championship building piece right there for the Raiders right here. You have Colton Miller on one side. You have Darnell Wright on the other. Absolutely love Darnell Wright. My number 1 tackle prospect in this year's draft. I don't care what people say about, right tackle is not as valuable as left tackle. I think both the tackles are just as valuable. And this is a guy who didn't give up a single sack at Tennessee last year. He's about 340 pounds, just an absolute unit, and is an absolute stud off the field. Apparently, there's a story about this lady that was like, oh yeah, I've been DMing all of the offensive lineman prospects in this year's draft, and he just said, get your stank ass out of my DMs. That's a winner right there. I'm for Darnell Wright. I am absolutely for Darnell Wright. Both of these guys, we traded back. This is going to be our first original pick, but we got two very, very quality starters right there, and two of them that I think could really go in the first round in real life. Okay. Bijan's still here in the second round. Don't see that happening. We could go Dalton Kincaid here. Unfortunately, Foster Moreau is going through a situation right now, so prayers up for him. And then also, trading away Darren Waller for not much. So now you have Austin Hooper, O.J. Howard. I think we could get an instant upgrade here with Dalton Kincaid. But what do we want to do here? What do we want to do here? I feel like linebacker is atrocious on this team. Do they feel the same way? Yeah, linebacker is up there in the knees. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even tell you who the linebackers on this team were. And if I'm being completely honest right here, taking a look, I don't feel like we need a running back. We got a good guy right there in Josh Jacobs, who's playing under the franchise tag this year. Dalton Kincaid would definitely be in consideration. Cornerback, because we got Porter, not feeling it. Same with Harrison, because we got Wright. Don't need that wide receiver. I am going to go ahead and take Drew Sanders here, who I view as the number one linebacker in this year's class. And for a team that doesn't have much talent at the linebacker position, I think this would be a huge pickup for the Raiders right here. Very instinctual football player, is always around the football, and is pretty fast. Is pretty fast as well. So he's always going to be around the football, and that is a huge plus for a linebacker. You love a guy who can just go downfield, put his head down, lay a hit on somebody, make a play on the ball. Drew Sanders is the all-around package there at the linebacker spot this year in the class, in my opinion. Number one in my position rankings for that spot. Okay, 71 here. Luke Musgrave is a very, very talented tight end. I don't think I'm going to want to pass up on here. Obviously, he's the overall rank on this big board at 42. We're sitting here at pick 71, so there's absolutely no reason why he should be here. Oh, Jordan Battle, I really like. I feel like this safety group also is not super strong. I know you guys just signed Marcus Epps. I don't know. I just feel like there could be a legit upgrade in that secondary through this draft, with Joey Porter and then, a potential safety here. Wow, interesting. So I'm kind of torn between Musgrave right now and Jordan Battle. Musgrave, again, is adding to this new group new generation, I should say, of tight ends that are coming into the league that are kind of like, they have the athleticism of some wide receivers in the league, but also have the ability to block. Just a mismatch over the middle of the field. Luke Musgrave, again, like I mentioned, is adding to that new group of tight ends that we're seeing in the current day. Interesting. Okay. So I feel like because the Raiders signed two tight ends and Austin Hooper and O.J. Howard, I feel like that's the group that they're content with and the one that they're going to stick with. I'm going to go with Jordan Battle here out of Alabama, and this is a player that I think is being overlooked a ton right now. Just the way that he's able to read the quarterback's eyes, jump a football, again, be around a football. I think, we talk about Drew Sanders. I mean, these two guys have that thing in comparison, or similarities, that they both understand where the football is going. They know how to make their reads. They know how to process a play. And there's no second guessing with these guys. I mean, they are confident in their decision making. They know where they're going to go and what they're going to do. They're on a mission every single time. So would absolutely love this addition to the Raiders secondary here in the third round with Jordan Battle. Okay. I think we're in a spot right now because, there's a lot of cornerbacks. We could honestly add some depth to this cornerback group, and there's some really talented guys still on the board, so I wouldn't mind adding another guy here. I know that edge, is a huge priority for this team, but the way that the board has fallen just didn't really present itself, and I just feel like there were much more glaring needs where, we needed to address these spots. If not, the team was going to be in trouble. Don't feel like we reached at any point, but I do feel like we got some really solid players, and we can't address all the holes, unfortunately. Oh, wow. Okay, so Jarrett Patterson, Andrew Voorhees. I do want to address the interior of the offensive line as well. We could draft Andrew Voorhees here in round 4, and this is a guy that was really high on. I think could have gone round 2, if he was still healthy and didn't tear his ACL at the combine, unfortunately. I mean, I was really high on Voorhees. I had him as my number 2 guard behind Osiris Torrance. I think just a really smart football player, a really consistent one as well. Just overall solid blocker in both the pass and the run game. Doesn't panic. Just a very calm and steady player. And that is a position that I want to upgrade. So you're banking that he's going to be just as talented and just as ready to go as he was heading into this year's draft. And I think he will be. I really think he will be. Okay, so we're going to address that spot right here. Haven't drafted Andrew Voorhees in a while, and we've seen these offensive linemen in previous mock drafts. If you've been watching the channel, these guys fly off the board quickly. So I wanted to make sure that we got that guy. Darius Rush is another guy that I really like. I have him in my top 10 corners in this year's draft, and he's sitting here in round 4. Yes, round 4 right now. We can see the overall big board over here. If you guys want to take a look at that and hit the pause button really quick, see who's been taken where. But yes, we currently are sitting here in round 4. I am going to go ahead and take Darius Rush right here. I don't think we necessarily need another cornerback, but in terms of value and where I value him on my overall big board, I really like Darius Rush. I know Cam Smith is getting a lot of attention, and deservingly so, because I am super high on Cam Smith, which could be a hot take in some of your guys' eyes, but Darius Rush is no slump as well. His ability to crash on the football and, stay stride for stride, step for step with the receivers that he goes up against. They had a really good duo at cornerback at South Carolina these past few years. Darius Rush, I absolutely love at the cornerback spot. Okay, sitting here, round 5, pick 143. How many more picks do we have? We actually have a lot of late round picks, so this is just going to add to the depth that we currently have on this football team. Okay, I like Elias Ricks as well, but I feel like we got 2 quality corners. I don't think we need to get too many guys in this year's draft. We could get a quarterback. Not sure who the backup quarterback on this team is, and that's going to be important considering that Jimmy Garoppolo does not have a good history with staying healthy. So maybe this is the spot right here where we go ahead and get a quarterback. Okay, so who do I like here? There's a lot of guys, actually. Jake Haener. So I am from Hawaii and watch a lot of University of Hawaii football. We see Fresno State quite a bit. Jake Haener, absolute stud. This dude does not give up. I remember there was one game where he was hurt. I think his ribs were broken or fractured or something, and he stayed in the game and put together a game-winning drive against UCLA. There's always a close eye on Fresno State in the Mountain West, so I've seen a lot of him. Clayton Tune just knows how to air out the football in Houston. Max Duggan, great story. Okay, what do we want to go ahead and do here? Let's see. I feel like there's just been a lot of talk about these other guys and not so much about Jake Haener. I'm going to go ahead and take him here. That's going to be a quality backup quarterback here who has some durability, who has some legit durability. So we're going to take him there. Okay. Let's see. What do we want to do here? Nathaniel Dell would be interesting. I think that would be good value at this point. Andre Carter still sitting over here. Okay, that's interesting. And I think the reason why he might go a little bit lower than some people anticipate, and we're going to take him here and just talk about it, is because he's from Army, So it's not often that you see a guy able to declare from the draft from these military schools straight off the bat. But Andre Carter is going to be in this draft. He did get the green light and can declare for the draft. It's just a lot of question marks because he is involved with the military. So I think although he's a really talented player with a lot of production at Army and a lot of good attributes to his overall build and skill set, I think there is going to be some value taking him here in one of the middle rounds. Okay, so we have about 5 more picks right now. What do we want to do here? A lot of these guys are going to end up being special teams contributors, depth players, as we mentioned before. There's a lot of good wide receivers still on the board here. Who do we want to go with here? I also like some of the running backs that are still here, and we'll definitely consider that because who knows if Josh Jacobs is going to be a part of this team long term. There needs to be a backup plan. Amir Abdullah, who's currently listed as the backup, I believe, not ideal. Not ideal. Is a solid receiving back. We're going to go Jaden Reed right here out of Michigan State. Don't expect him to be a starter, but can be a special teams contributor. Really solid out of Michigan State. But like I said, just can't imagine he'd take the starting role from any of those three guys year one. But taking a look at the way that this mock draft has went so far, I'm pretty happy, honestly. I'm pretty happy. I feel like we addressed a lot of the needs that this team has right now, and we didn't really reach a ton. Maybe we did for Andrew Voorhees, but that's an investment for the future that we've made. So I'm pretty satisfied, and this draft is not over yet, so let's continue that. We could go with another edge rusher here. There's a lot of them at the top of the board. Okay, so there's a lot of guys that you're going to see me just take over and over again in these late rounds, and I just feel like it's good value. Like, some of these players are really, really good, and I really like Tyjae Spears. Tyjae Spears, I have as my number 3 running back in this year's draft, and if he's going to be sitting here in round 6, I'm going to take him every single time. And I do want to take some other players that I haven't before, but again, don't want to miss out on this player. I feel like it's tremendous value. We pick here again at 216. So we might be able to snag another one of these players. I'm looking at Robert Beal Jr. in particular out of Georgia. We're going to go ahead and take him. Add again to that edge rusher group. I thought for a moment, just because of the way that the board was going, that we weren't going to get a solid edge rusher, because I know that that is something that the team wants to address, despite having Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. So that would be a good addition to the team right there, and Carter and Beal. Sitting here with a couple more picks. Tyler Scott is a very explosive player out of Cincinnati. Had some pretty big plays for that team this year. Obviously, he's going to be a little bit lower in the draft because of his size. Okay, what do we want to do here? Special teams is definitely not in consideration. This is one of the best special teams groups in the entire league. Let's go ahead and take Tyler Scott here. Could be a big-time contributor in special teams. In the kickoffs, gunning on the punts. Okay. Final pick here in our mock draft here. What do we want to go ahead and do? We got a lot of these positions already. Do we get a fullback? I don't think so. Oh, Deuce Vaughn is still here. That's interesting. Okay, let's add to that depth on the offensive line. We don't want to get too repetitive. We drafted 2 corners. We drafted 2 wide receivers. We drafted 2 edge rushers. Let's go get some depth along the offensive line. We'll get Jackson Kirkland out of Washington. And that concludes our mock draft here for the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, if you guys enjoyed this video, consider hitting the like button and also consider subscribing. Still on the road to 600 subscribers. But, man, this draft went really well. I did a lot of simulations earlier with the Raiders, and it was rocky because there were some spots that I still wanted to address after the draft is done. But I think this went as smoothly as I could have imagined it, and I hope you guys feel the same way. But, I mean, Porter, starter. Wright, starter. Sanders, starter. Battle, starter, honestly, in my opinion. We got some really, really quality players at some really, really quality spots. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and again, most importantly, don't forget to subscribe. It's draft season all year long, and I will see you guys all later. Peace.